Hi, everybody. You're now experiencing the Gretna Bill Show.
Hey, John.
Bill, how are you?
Hey, good. This is our first time, of course. This is working out great. Nice backdrop, dude.
Yeah, you should have seen me out in my driveway trying to take a picture of that, standing up on a ladder.
Oh, man.
Yeah, wind was blowing. Took some work.
Nice job. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. Whenever we get started, this is our first time, obviously. So we live. We can just go ahead.
Yeah, we're rolling.
John Miller, welcome to the Gretna Bill Show.
Thank you, Bill.
You know, I was thinking back in like late 90s, maybe 98, 99 or so, I was racing with Wooden Wheels Racing. And they started a series up. And we were at Fair Hill and Iron Hill, and we did a bunch of races. We did the finals at Spring Mountain. You remember that? And so when I was looking over your notes about today, I was trying to figure out, was that the beginning of the Mid-Atlantic Super Series, or did it morph into something more exceptional?
That predated the Mass, Bill. I do remember some of that. I know I think there was a weeknight series at Iron Hill for a while. And there were races. In fact, someone just posted a picture of some old shirts on the Mass Facebook group. But the Mass started in 2001. So those series and those races predated the Mass.
Nice. So, when did give us a little history? How did this all get started?
Okay. So the history is, I believe it was 2001, started by Don Morrison.
Good guy. Raced with him a lot.
Yep. We all know Don, the grandfather of the Masses, as we like to refer to him as. But Don started it. I'd have to go back and look at one of the original water bottles to see how many races it was. But I know back then it opened up at Hibernia. There was Iron Hill, Spring Mountain. If you remember Blue Marsh out there, there was one at Blue Marsh. And there were several others. I think it was about 8 races. And back then it went from April all the way to end of September when we were still racing mountain bikes in the fall.
I remember Blue Marsh, and I have one of those water bottles. I'll have to refresh our memory with it. But yeah, go ahead. Continue. I love that series then. I love the Blue Marsh race.
Yeah. It was a great group of races back then. I think it was just XC. There was no endurance at that time. Don ran it, I think, for 3 years, and then it was Jay Oleksak and another guy. They were both on that Shirks team, which was a large team. Maybe some people will remember the purple jerseys, but it was a large team. And Jay, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they ran it for, I think they were 3 years. I took it over in 2009.
Awesome. So yeah, to be clear, there's actually, you've evolved it into 3 different series, correct?
Correct. We're cross country, endurance, and Enduro now. 5 years of Enduro too.
That is great. That's great stuff. So we started, you took over around 2009, started around 2001, actually 4 to 5 states, which must have been complicated these last year or this year going forward in terms of COVID regulations with different states, right?
Right. It was. So for 2020, we did not have any races in New Jersey, and we did not have the Southern Tier Enduro, which came on board back in 2019 up in the Binghamton area. But because of some local and state regulations, we just couldn't run in those states.
So the 3 separate series, you got XC, you got Endurance, and then you got Enduro. Just for the uninitiated, you want to quickly go over those 3 series, like the number of races, what they're all about, etc.
Sure, sure. So cross country, you could think of cross country as what most riders would do on a weekend, where you go out and maybe a couple laps around your local venue. By far the largest and the most diverse as far as number of classes and distances. So on the XC side, things tend to break up into abilities and age group, with Cat 1 being your highest level ability, what we used to call expert back in the Norba days. Cat 1 expert. Within that is a pro open class, cash prizes in the pro open. Typically your Cat 1 distances are 3 laps of a 6 to 8 mile course, and they break up into age groups as well: pro open men, pro open women, and then 19 to 39 men, 40 to 49 men, 50 to 59 men. On the women's side, pro open women, and then Cat 1, 40 plus women actually combine with the pro women and race for the same cash purse. And then what we would call Cat 2 was sport back in the Norba days.
Yep.
The largest group, typically racing 2 laps, again, broken down by age groups, with more age groups than the Cat 1, 10 years versus 20 years in some cases, more women's groups in the Cat 2, and getting down into some juniors with Cat 2 U19 girls, Cat 2 U19 boys, and then Cat 3, which we used to refer to as beginner, typically doing 1 lap. The Cat 2 would do 2, beginner Cat 3 typically 1 lap, again broken down by age groups, men and women, and digging deep into the juniors, U13 boys, U15 girls, 14 to 15 boys, 15 to 18, I think it is, girls. So a lot of junior classes at the Cat 3 beginner level.
Excellent. And, in my class, it's 60 plus, and you combine Cat 1 and Cat 2. So that's kind of unique. That's a good class, but you got rid of the 40 plus open, correct?
We had, within the Cat 1, we had an elite masters 40 plus class. And that, for most of its, I'm going to guess we ran that for 6 or 7 years. For most of that, it would have become a combined start with the pro men racing for the same cash purse. I think we broke it out for a year and did a number of things, but over the last few years, we just haven't seen that level of racer in that class, because it does overlap the Cat 1 40 to 49.
No more Jay Dodge, no more Bob Eichland, et cetera.
Right. And there are some 40 plus guys that just tend to race in the men open too. So
got it.
Just one open class racing for cash this year on the men's.
Before we forget, there won't be any 70 plus men Cat 1 and 2 until you or I reach that age. Just to get out of the way for John Warfel. Sorry, John, but that's the official word.
That's the official word. Right. For this year, always subject to change, though.
Got it. So the XC series has how many races this year?
We have 12 on the books, and obviously we are still we're at the mercy of the states and the counties as far as what we can and cannot do with outdoor gatherings. So 12 on the books. I will say, as of today, Pennsylvania just relaxed some of their standards. So I hope that New Jersey and Maryland will follow suit. So 12 on the books for now. Some of those, see, I made a note how many have. I think 5 or 6 of them will have a 4-hour endurance class. And just to cover endurance. So endurance is just like long cross country. Within the cross country races, some of ours will have 4-hour endurance races, basically as many laps as you can do in 4 hours. And then also on the endurance side, our one standalone endurance race, Rattling Creek, to open up our series in April, already sold out, but may add some capacity there based on the recent updates to outdoor gatherings from the state. But endurance, either 35 to 50 miles of a one lap or a lollipop style course, or 4 hour lap races.
So yeah, speaking of Rattling Creek, I went on because today, March 1st, is the kickoff. So you can register now for all the races for all you folks out there. And I registered. I went on to register for the first endurance. That's in April 11th, Sunday, and I obviously was put on a waiting list. So yeah, looks like it's great turnout. So that you think that might change? You think I might have a good shot in getting into that race?
Well, it is state dependent, but it's also, if you've ever been out to that end of the Weiser State Forest, there are some limitations on parking too. It's not a huge parking lot. I know Ryan Fulton, the promoter of that, also Transylvania promoter, he is working on getting additional parking, but there are a couple issues as far as logistics of the venue. And everybody has those. Those are things we look at with each venue. Rattling has just become very popular over the last couple of years. It's a fantastic place to ride, super fun trails. Ryan does a great job with it. So if he can get the parking and get approval, then I think he would open it up.
All right, terrific. That's good news. I'm looking forward to that. Now, to be clear, there's 12 races in the XC, which most of us will be doing. And so you can also, the finals are going to be where? At possibly Up Our Way this year, right? Is that correct, at the end of August?
Well, finals for now are planned for the second Gretna race. I think that is, I can tell you when that is. That's end of October. No, I'm sorry. That's end of September. I think she is the 25th, or I'll look that date up for you. But I've actually always wanted to do finals at Gretna. It's a super famous, super historic course. Private property on an amazing DuPont estate. The DuPonts have been great to all types of racing, not just mountain bike, but vintage trials and other things. And it's close to home. It's private property. It's everything you could want in a finals venue. You can run rain or shine. We hope we don't have to run in the rain, but you're always faced with that at a Fairhill or somewhere else where you have to cancel because of rain. So Saturday, September 25th, Gretna 2.0 Rewind. That's where we plan to have endurance cross country finals.
And then, it's great. We podcasted with Irene DuPont himself. He'll be 101. Yeah. That's pretty amazing. He's pretty jazzed that we're down there, which is outstanding, right? It's so rare.
Yeah. Sometimes he'll show up in his antique car at the start for some of the races. Just a super guy and a super family.
Good stuff. So then the endurance series will have how many races?
Well, I think we are. Let me check my notes. And this is kind of up in the air now because we would like to add an endurance class to the opener at Fairhill, the Spring XC. It really depends on if Maryland opens up. I think they're still at 250 for outdoor gatherings. I do think they will open, and if they do, we do plan to add endurance and a Cat 4 first timers class, which I didn't mention, but on the XC side, some of the easier, less technical venues have a Cat 4 first timers. It's really designed for your first time racer. It's typically a slightly shorter lap. We've ran those at Fairhill before. We've run it at Gretna. So depending on the state and Cecil County, we may add that there. But I was just looking at this, and I think we will be, let me look at my notes, Bill. Give me a second. it's my 2021. Of the 12 XC right now, 6 will have endurance and then a standalone endurance race at Rattling. So potential of 7 right now.
Terrific. How many enduro races will there be this year?
5 or 6 at this point. Depends if we can have Southern Tier up in Binghamton. Everybody else should be good to go. We will open at Spring Mountain in Schwanksville. You remember the days of MC finals there, going back a long way. But Spring Mountain used to have the Launch Bike Park, which I've ridden there. It's a very technical place to ride. Some full-blown downhill trails, and Colby Barth, who's been involved with that park and for a long time, will probably run the opening enduro probably middle of May at Spring Mountain.
That sounds great. I had some good times down there.
Yeah.
There's no requirement for registration, and the idea is that you want everybody to register for a series. So the first question that came to my mind was, like, you only register for either cross country XC or endurance or enduro. Like, you don't there's no overlap there necessarily, is there?
Well, there is, and there can be, and let me back up for a second and say we did open series registration on Bike Reg open today. I've actually got 36 people registered today. That must be a one-day record for us, I have to think. So there's a lot of interest in racing this year, of course. Now, I will also say that registration for the races is starting to open, and like Rattling is open, the Spring XC at Fair Hill, that will open. Series registration is not a requirement. You don't have to register for the series to race in any race. Series registration gets you in the season-long points competition, standings, eligible for the season-ending awards, which is a jersey provided by Volley Apparel for each class winner, typically medals or awards going 3 deep, all awarded at the end of the season. But series registration is not required to race any mass race. It is just if you want to be part of the individual or team competitions.
So you just register individually, and then you register at another place or coincidentally as a team. Like, do you have the small team and the large team this year, or how's that work?
We have, for the last few years, we've had, on the XC side, it has been open and grassroots. So basically, 2 types of teams. Open is riders of any ability. Grassroots is no Cat 1, no pro racers. Cat 2, Cat 3, no pro racers. On the team registration side, the way that works is team registration opens about a month after series registration. And what I do is a team director would request access to assign racers to the roster. So I will send them a login. They actually log into the scoring system. I've set their team up. I've set the team type as grassroots or open. They log in and they can see all the registered racers. Have to be registered for the series to be assigned to a team. They go in and they do all the assignments themselves. They can come back to it repeatedly, and then we typically close team registration about the end of June or in July, so we can have a handle on who's on what team and to keep things fair so that people realize what their team standings are after each race. But it's not a separate registration for any racers. It is up to, and there's no additional cost. The team director goes in and assigns their racers to their roster within the scoring system.
So like for Through It All, the team I race for, so I go ahead, I register, and then we have a team meeting and we talk about who's going to be in on it. And then the team contacts you or goes on to a portal and says, hey, these are all the people on my team. Now, let's say I have a couple of pro riders or Cat 1 riders, but that, 10 of us are all Cat 2 or less than that. So then we would register as grassroots predominantly, knowing my team. So the two individuals or whatever that choose to be Cat 1 pro, they wouldn't be on the grassroots team, correct?
If you wanted to be grassroots, correct? Yeah. They would not be.
So that's the balance you got to strike, because you figure if I've only got a couple, I'm not going to put them on. If you've got a majority of them, then you say, okay, we register pro open
as an open team. Correct.
Yeah, but then they're not going to get as many points from like Cat 3 wins or Cat 2 wins. How does that work?
Well, actually, we leveled the playing field a couple years ago, where whether you are Cat 1 or Cat 3, if you win a race, you still earn the same amount of team points. So we don't stack the field where a team with a bunch of pro riders can just go out and win the team competition. And the team scoring does get a little complex because we try to keep it close, and there's details of that on the website on how we handle team scoring, but we basically use a scale of 1 to 10 so that, let's say, through it all, say you win Fair Hill, you accumulated the most points and had the best finishes, whether it was Cat 3 or Cat 2 if you were just grassroots.
Yeah.
And then say Trek Mid-Atlantic, they finished second. Through it all gets 10 points, Trek Mid-Atlantic gets 9. So it's not like Through It All gets 50 points and say Trek gets 30. We try to keep it as close as possible in that points competition so that no one runs away with it.
Right. So it would almost benefit you if you had, if you had some juniors and some women and a lot of those categories that aren't highly populated, but they're scoring points. So you could come up with a 10 score just by having a diverse team in grassroots, let's say. Yeah,
that's what we've tried to work at for a number of years as we've tweaked the team scoring to keep it close and to award the same amount of points for a junior winning as much as a pro woman or pro man.
Right. So that's cool for the team, right? Because you get people of all abilities and everybody can contribute and enjoy that, enjoy watching their team progress through the year and watching, individual riders. Like if you get a junior, a woman, let's say, and then she starts winning. That's good stuff. Or like Nancy, and she's winning, right? So she's always throwing in points every time. So those are actually good people to get on your team.
It also awards the team that has riders of different ages, different abilities. So, and within that, I should say that on those teams, regardless of how many members, we only take your top 10 that scored points. So that a team of 10 can compete with a team of 30.
That's perfect. That's great. That's really nice job in leveling the field there and explaining that. So we already talked about jerseys, and you're going to give jerseys out at the end of the year for all the winners of every category. And then usually the awards go 3 deep. And now in the pro open, you're going to award cash. Everybody else is going to get medals, right?
Well,
for the most part, top 3
for the races themselves. Some of that is up to the promoter. Now, what we do as part of being a series, and I don't know if I mentioned, each race for the most part is put on by an individual promoter, whether it's a club like Guys Racing or a professional promoter like a Ryan Fulton or a team like Hangstoffer's Lubricants. Almost all of our races, other than Big Elk, which I own, are all put on by different groups, teams, individuals, and they have some bearing on what they do for awards. Typically for XC, for Cat 3 and Cat 2, I am providing each promoter with the mass medals, the ones from Resource Revival. They are recycled chains on a bamboo insert. And last year, We also did those medals for some of the races, did them for Cat 1, and some of them, including myself at Big Elk, we did it for endurance. And the reason we did that, because operating in the COVID era, there's such an unknown on whether, last year there was a more of a fear of getting shut down than there is this year. We hope things will open up, but it's very tough for everyone to go get prizes and things like that, where it's much easier for me to buy a lot of mass medals, and then others can use them as needed. But they can expect mass medals in Cat 2 and Cat 3. The cash payouts for the pro classes, we all agree on those. Some of the other stuff is up to the promoter's discretion.
Yeah, I'm really jazzed about this year. Excited. I probably won't do much road racing by the looks of things. And oftentimes, the gravel events are so stacked with people, it's hard to get in if you don't get way ahead of the game there. So I'm really looking forward to the Mid-Atlantic Super Series, because I know, that's available to us all. And, it's a chance for a lot of us to get down and ride French Creek, to get down and ride Iron Hill when normally we don't, because we're all riding in our local area. So, I'm really looking forward to it, along with the other venues. You've done a great job this year for sure. I'm totally pumped about getting to these races. And also, just a quick shout out to all of our sponsors, right? For the Mass Series, it's Voller Apparel, Flying Fish Brewery, Lupine Lights, the Gretna Bill Show, Home Light, and Real Estate Technology Company. Or Home Light is a real estate technology company.
Correct.
So, this is looking great. Great stuff. The website looks great. It really makes you want to get out there and race. I like some of the stuff you put in there. Like you had this new to mountain bike racing, good article to read. That's good stuff, because I think, the COVID brought out a lot of people and brought them back out into riding again and enjoying some of this. And they thought, what, I think I'll take a chance at racing. What's this all about? And this is a real user-friendly website to that end. So your thoughts on that?
Well, yes, I appreciate that. And that the website was a long time coming. That's a new website as of last year. A local guy, Andrew, with I think he's Milky Way Technologies, or I forget. He's got several companies, but he did a great job with the website. He just redid the sponsor logos. We'll do some other design work for the cover photos, for the Facebook groups, and possibly t-shirt design. So the website was a lot of work. It was not cheap, but we needed something that scaled for mobile. I can do all the changes I need on the back end. So there's a lot going on with the website, and mainly the race calendar, the link to registration, the link to results, all that back end stuff was all improved vastly over the last one.
Yeah, it looks really great. And again, for all you folks out there, please check out the series, the Mid-Atlantic Super Series, MASuperseries.com. Get yourself registered for the series and talk to your team, get them registered. And then check out all the races and get registering, folks, as soon as they open up. And again, the kickoff Sunday, April 11th. Hopefully there'll be some more room for some of us that are on the waiting list. And that's an endurance race. But then after that, it's April 24th. And that's Spring XC at Fairhill. It's always a great way to start the season out. It's usually a great day down there. A lot of fun. I can't wait. So I know we wanted to talk just quickly about a 2020 recap, about what went on last year, and I was going to ask you specifically just to talk about the great stuff you guys did with COVID preparation, and that how much of that the way you ran the races is going to carry over into 2021. I was really interested to hear about. Yeah.
Good topic of discussion. Obviously still some unknowns going into this year, but last year, when I'm going to say in April and May, we really didn't think we were going to be racing. There were plenty of people that said, hang it up, don't bother, you won't be racing. But we kept our foot on the pedal, and We looked for venues that could get approval, and Heather and Tom, they worked hard at Gretna and got approval to. We opened up in July. We normally open in April. We opened in July with quite an in-depth safety plan that was approved by Newcastle County Board of Health, I believe it was. But what it came down to really was everything you would expect, which is the social distancing, masks all over except when racing. But on the racing side, what we did and what we'll probably at least open the season with is time trial like starts, where we group everybody up in a large open space and we sort of move through in an orderly fashion by classes, but it's typically 2 at a time every 15 seconds. So we use an additional timing system. They roll up, 2 go, and the timing system basically captures what's called a chip time start. So instead of the way races used to be, which was basically a gun time, every class got the same start time, say it's 9 o'clock or 9:02 or 9:04, depending on the wave. Well, that last year and probably this year, at least for part of it, will be chip time start. So your elapsed time, what we call chip time, is from the time you cross that start mat to the time you cross under the separate finishing system. So that was really what we carried through the season with. We did that at every XC race. Ryan did it, something similar for rattling. There were other things we did, Bill. We, as you know, there was no results board. All results were posted online. We've always posted live to a results page during the race every 15 minutes or so, but that's all we did. There was no printing of results. The award ceremonies were very minimal. In many cases, it was get called up, grab your medal off a table, grab a quick picture, and go. Spectators were discouraged other than your support or your emergency contact. So those are the nuts and bolts of it. There were other things too. We asked people to not arrive more than an hour and a half before the race, stay for awards, and try and vacate the venue an hour after your race. So a lot of different little things that added up to basically the same plan. Newcastle County approved theirs. I got my Fair Hill races through Cecil County in Maryland, Bear Creek. The only 2 Pennsylvania races outside of rattling on the XC side were the XC at Bear Creek and the night race at Bear Creek. So we did the same thing just about everywhere. We were, how many races did we have? I think we were 6 XC, 5 Enduro, 1 standalone endurance, and within that, not one reported case of COVID that came out of our races.
Sweet. Yeah, you guys did a great job. And also, it was pretty cool to look at your almost real-time results when you got done your race. That was pretty exciting for everybody to kind of talk about it and check it out. And then the other thing was at the front end, we of course, it was contactless registration, and that's going to continue, I would imagine, right?
It is. And I'll sidebar or segue into our affiliation with U.S. Endurance. But last year, I don't want to say we partnered up, but most of our XCs made a choice to use insurance from U.S. Endurance. And there were a number of reasons for that. You may know, and every promoter knows, the biggest challenge and one of the biggest expenses is insurance. Event insurance, especially for these type of amateur competitions, is hard to find. It's something that we deal with every year, and I look at it every year. And I hooked up with Troy at U.S. Endurance last year, I believe Mike Kuhn, who sits on that board as well, actually referred me to Troy and his organization, U.S. Endurance, and they have fantastic mountain bike insurance. And as part of that, you fill out an application, and you fill out an agreement, and you basically agree to these professional standards that you will run your race under, which include emergency evacuation plans, safety plans, marshaling plans, a number of things that you basically agree to. Not that we didn't do all those, but it's a good reminder to go through and sign the U.S. Endurance Agreement on the steps you've taken to run a race safely. And no one wants to have an emergency or an injury, but just having those plans in place on what to do in the event of an injury, evacuation, EMTs, the closest hospital, who's on site, all those different things. But within that, signing that agreement allows you to purchase insurance through the U.S. Endurance carrier. And the best thing about that is they have an e-sign waiver that I believe it's been approved in every state. So when we set our races up on Bike Reg as a promoter, we just check the online waiver and the U.S. Endurance affiliation and go e-sign. No one, if you've pre-registered and you're going to one of our cross countries that's using the insurance from U.S. Endurance, it's touchless. You don't sign anything. You go up and you may have a series plate. If not, you'll be given a plate. We check you in. You don't sign anything. You get your plate, or you just let us know you're there and you go. So contactless registration for those that are pre-registered.
That's great stuff. Every race that I went to last year was smooth. You guys did a great job getting the results out quickly so you could look at them online was cool too. And, last fall we did have Troy Farrar on of U.S. Endurance because he runs the Gravel Grinder National Championship. And, we had talked about that. Interesting side note, with my fingers crossed this year, from what I understand, Troy has hooked up U.S. Endurance and the Grinder National Championship in October with Dave Pryor and Mike Kuhn, and they will be at Unpaved. So Unpaved will be dual purposed as, the Unpaved that we all know and love, but also U.S. Grinder National Championship right here in our own state. So that's pretty cool. That's great. I mean, it couldn't be a better group of guys. That's for sure. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, the couple of notes that we had here, last year you had record attendance numbers. You said that Enduro had record turnout. Junior Cat 3 beginner classes were huge. Maybe it was because of not the full NICA league season. But anyway, did you want to comment on the numbers and the attendance last year that you had?
Yeah, I will, Bill. It was pretty amazing. The first XC Gretna, Heather and Tom's race, I think we were over 450, which we probably haven't seen that at Gretna those are numbers we used to see 8-10 years ago.
Yes, for sure.
So you remember going back to the early days. So that was, I think she was over 450. My race, Big Elk, we were over 450.
Wow.
Just to give you a snapshot on the junior side, just looking at the finals at Fair Hill that we ran actually in October last year, the U13 boys had 22 boys under 13 in that class.
Wow.
To further that, at most of the XCs, the Cat 3 class, Cat 3 men, women, juniors, that class was our largest group. And that is the first time that's ever happened.
Wow, for sure.
Usually been Cat 2, typically the Cat 2, your weekend warrior guys and gals. That's been your biggest class, but not so last year. And whether that was a function of some of the NICA leagues not having a full schedule, or just looking at, I mean, everyone's seen it. You go out to your parks these days where we normally ride, and there's families out hiking. There's twice the amount of people that were ever out in the woods. And I think some of that has carried over. I mentioned some of the races we ran, that Cat 4 first timers class.
Yeah.
They were huge too. I mean, there were like U19 boys on the Cat 4 side. I mean, some of them were 20 kids in that. It's actually U19 juniors, girls and boys, if I remember right. But those numbers were big too. And then over on the Enduro side, Enduro's been really where the growth in mountain bike racing has been the last few years. You look at EWS, the Enduro World Series. You look at Eastern States Cup, which runs in our area, and up in New England. Those are the big boys of Enduro in our part of the country, and their numbers are growing. Our numbers have piggybacked that. We've had some of the junior classes have just been off the charts on U19 boys, U15 boys added 2 years ago. Last year we added U19 girls mid-season after the first race at Blue. I had a couple parents that approached me about adding a girls class, and honestly, usually we add classes because at the beginning of the season it comes up for discussion. We've never added a class mid-season before, but we did. We added U19 girls to the Enduro side, and that was a big plus. I know there's a U19 all-girls Enduro team in the works. They just posted some logos for everyone to take a look at on the Facebook group. So people love the gravity racing, and some of our venues we run from some really tough technical ones like Blue Mountain and Mountain Creek and you go to Steel City, which has a somewhat XC feel to it, and we set a record at almost all of those last year, and it's been super popular, and I expect that to carry forward this year too.
That sounds really exciting. I also expect a lot more people in the Cat 3 and stuff to turn out because, through COVID, we saw so many more people getting on bicycles. And then this is the next, this is kind of the next step. It's like, yeah, maybe I'll go and check out, I want to go check out French Creek, and I might as well get in the race there too. It sounds like a lot of fun. And we do have a great time at the venues. I'd recommend everybody to come. There's always good food and it's a good time.
Agreed. Sure. Agreed. What it gives you the opportunity to do is to go ride trails that are well marked, well maintained, marshaled, timing, registration, possibly some food vendors. If you look at the price of mountain bike racing in general, you can compare it to some kids' travel sports or golf or skiing or other things. It's a lot of value and a lot of fun for the money.
Yeah, as you said, for me, for a lot of us, it's like, hey, let's go ride Iron Hill, or let's go ride Fair Hill, or let's go ride French Creek. But under the race setting, you don't necessarily have to be like committed to do like race and train for it. You're like, that's just an opportunity to go down there, see some of your friends, check out some people's bikes, and then, like you said, ride a nice course that's well marked, and that it's all kosher due to the weather and everything. Everybody has got everything under control, and it's just a great time to go race or ride some other venues, even though you may not be like a serious competitor racing person. That's kind of the message here, right?
It is. We've always tried to keep it fun, friendly. Yes, it's competitive, but we want it to be inclusive, whether you're training 3 days a week and want to race for cash, or you bought a bike a month ago and you want to go out and put in a hot lap and see what it's like. That's the goal.
Man, this was great. I'm so glad we got the opportunity to do this. And I'm so looking forward to Rattling Creek and Spring XC at Fair Hill. I'm looking forward to it all. I was, of course, fond of the night race at Bear Creek, so hopefully Gary will bring that back. That was a hoot too.
It's on the schedule.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yep. I will tell you when that is. That is Late Night with Bear Creek is Friday, August 6th.
That's a good time. Boy, that's early this year too, compared to that's great. So glad.
It was Labor Day weekend last year. Yeah. So I think this year you'll see a lot more people. Typically we won't run on a holiday weekend,
right?
But last year trying to get a season in, Bear Creek has so many events there, and we do enjoy being there. We're lucky we were able to get a Friday night that'll work. And early August, it should be warm. Just a great time for some night racing. And it's been years. We used to have the night race at Marsh Creek, and you go back to the 24-hour races, Seven Springs, Alamucci. I mean, that kind of racing at night, we really haven't seen that in a long time. And there was always someone that would ask, "Are we bringing back a night race?" And it takes a lot to do it. Everything changes in the dark.
It does. I am really psyched for the season. And, of course, it's been a long winter. It's been a long year with COVID. And, man, I think you're going to have great success. And we're all going to have great turnout and just great experience this year. And, you guys run a great series. You run great timing. I really appreciate all that you do, man. It's such a pleasure to come down there. We know so many people over the years. It's so much fun. We know the venues. It's a chance to ride the venues. It's just a hoot, man. I'm so glad you're doing it, and I'm really grateful. And man, let's get after it here. We're only a few weeks away, and you got any parting words for us, John?
I can tell you that we are working on it every day, Bill.
Sweet.
We're just going through trying to, it's going to be another year of I was just working with Dusty on Fairhill today. What are we going to have to go through? We've been reviewing our COVID safety plans. I've sent the plans that got approval last year out to some of this year's promoters that were not able to run last year. We did a study of the Gretna 2019 race when we did start that last year in July, and I believe Delaware still had a cap of 250. But what we did was we took a really hard look at who came and went at the venue and when they were out on course, when they were at registration, and looking at a 400-person race, making a couple general assumptions. We never had more than just over 200 gathered in any one spot at any one time, and it was usually in that registration time frame when one class is finishing up and the other's registering. So we worked really hard last year to be able to race safely, and we're doing it again this year. I mean, every day there's some type of planning going on.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Yeah, in fact, I just got a text from Dusty, speaking of the devil, about the MTB relay race at Massanutten again this year. So
yeah, I know he did that last year. It's a shame we don't have the mass relay at the farm last year or this year. That's usually been our opener. It's sorely missed. It was a great time, and I hope Mike can bring that back. Doing a relay where it's very hard to social distance when you're, in transition with a bunch of people waiting for your rider to come in, especially on a short course like Mike's up at the farm. But we missed that. We hope to have it back next year.
Yeah, for sure. I talked to Mike a little bit about it and whined a bit and said, "Come on, man, you got to get this going." And he hemmed and hawed. I know what he's up against, but I know he's still got our thoughts. He's still trying, so we'll see.
Oh yeah, he's got a full plate, that's for sure.
Man, this was great. So great. Thanks for being on the show, and I'm just looking forward to racing this year. And you're doing a great job. And man, thanks again. You got any final words before we part?
I can just say thanks for having me on. Thanks for all your support. You've been there for I don't know how many years. Lupine's been a supporter. You had lights at Bear Creek last year. So, it's a team effort between the promoters, the racers. I'm the facilitator and conductor. It doesn't happen without a great group of people.
And you do a terrific job. Thank you for everything. Look forward to seeing you soon. And yeah, things are looking up. I think we turned the corner in so many different ways, and we all got cabin fever. So we're ready to go after it. Thanks again for providing this opportunity for us all.
You're
Take care,
welcome,
my friend.
Yeah,
all right.
Thanks for having me on.
We'll
see you out there.
Take care.
Take care.